Maya Collins crawled through the narrow air duct on Deck 7, her small hands working to replace a broken filter. The metal was cold against her skin, and the space was so tight that even someone her size had to squeeze through. She had been doing this job for 3 years now, and most days nobody even noticed she existed. The ship Horizon's Edge was huge. It carried over 200 beings from 12 different worlds, all working together on some kind of deep space mission that Maya didn't fully understand. She just knew her job was to keep the air clean, the gravity working, and the lights on, simple work that nobody else wanted to do. Maya finished with the filter and crawled backward out of the duct. She dropped down into the corridor and brushed the dust off her blue work clothes. 2 Kethran warriors walked past her without looking down. They were talking in their deep voices about some battle they had won years ago. Maya was used to being ignored. The Kethrans were 8 feet tall with thick gray skin that looked like armor. They had 4 arms and moved like they owned the whole ship. Their leader was Vorthak, who everyone called the greatest fighter in the galaxy. Maya had seen him in the halls many times. He never looked at humans except to push them out of his way. Maya picked up her tool bag and walked toward the engine room. She passed the main meeting hall where Captain Hendricks was trying to talk to some alien diplomats. The captain was a good man, but Maya could see he was struggling. The other species didn't respect humans much. They thought humans were weak and stupid. In the engine room, Maya found her next job. One of the gravity generators was making a strange noise. She opened her tool bag and started taking the panel apart. Her hands moved fast and sure. She had learned to fix things when she was just a kid on the mining colony where she grew up. Back then, if something broke, you fixed it yourself or you lived without it. Jake Morrison, one of the human security officers, walked into the engine room. He looked upset about something. "Hey, Maya," he said. "You hear what happened in the meeting today?" Maya shook her head. She didn't go to meetings. Nobody asked maintenance workers what they thought about anything. Vorthak said humans don't belong on exploration ships, Jake said. His face was red with anger. He said we're only good for cleaning and cooking and other simple jobs. Maya kept working on the gravity generator. She had heard worse things about humans before. The Kethrans thought they were the best fighters in the galaxy. The Zephyrians thought they were the smartest. The Altarians thought they were the best diplomats. Everyone thought humans were just there to do the boring work. Captain Hendricks didn't say anything back. Jake continued. He just sat there and took it. We look weak in front of everyone. Maya found the broken part in the generator and started replacing it. What did you want him to do? She asked quietly. Fight back, Jake said. Show them we're not pushover. With words or with fists? Maya asked. Jake was quiet for a moment. I don't know. Maybe both. Maya finished her repair and closed the panel. The strange noise was gone. Words don't work with Kethrans, she said. They only understand strength. Yeah, well, none of us can beat Vorthak in a fight, Jake said. Guy's never lost a battle in 20 years. Maya picked up her tools. Maybe, she said. Jake laughed, but not in a mean way. Maybe. Maya, the guy could probably crush a car with his bare hands. He's fought in wars across half the galaxy. Maya just shrugged. She had learned a long time ago that size didn't always matter in a fight. On her home colony, the biggest miners weren't always the toughest ones. The smart ones who knew how to move and where to hit, they were the ones who survived. That evening, Maya ate dinner alone in the small cafeteria. Most humans ate together, but Maya liked the quiet. She could think better when no one was talking to her. She watched the different alien species at their tables. The Kethrans sat together, loud and laughing. The Zephyrians were quiet, reading from their datapads. The Altarians were having some kind of formal discussion. Vorthak walked into the cafeteria and the whole room got quieter. He was even bigger than the other Kethrans, with scars across his face and arms. He wore his weapons even during meals, which was supposed to be against ship rules. But nobody told Vorthak what to do. Maya watched him get his food and sit with his warriors. They were talking about humans again. She couldn't hear all the words, but she caught enough. Weak. Useless. Waste of space. The same thing she had been hearing her whole life. One of the Zephyrian scientists dropped his drink glass. It hit the floor and broke into pieces. Vorthak looked over at the sound and laughed. "Even their tools are weak," he said loud enough for everyone to hear. "Just like the beings who make them." The Zephyrian looked embarrassed. A few humans at nearby tables looked angry, but didn't say anything. Maya kept eating her simple meal of protein paste and vegetables. After dinner, Maya went back to her small room on deck 12. It was barely big enough for a bed and a small desk, but it was hers. She sat on the bed and thought about what Jake had said, about looking weak, about not fighting back. Maya had never told anyone on the ship about her life before, about growing up in the rough mining camps where fights happened every day, about learning to defend herself when she was only 10 years old, about the men who had tried to hurt her and learned that small didn't always mean helpless. She looked at her hands. They were small and looked soft, but they were strong from years of hard work. They knew how to fix things, and how to break things, too. Maya had just never needed to break anything on this ship before. Maybe that was about to change. The trouble started 3 days later during the weekly resource meeting. Maya was fixing a broken light panel outside the main conference room when she heard voices getting louder inside. She could see through the glass door as Captain Hendricks sat at the big table with representatives from all the different species. Vorthak stood up from his chair, his forearms crossed over his chest. Even sitting down, the other Kethrans were taller than most beings standing up. But Vorthak was the biggest of them all. "The humans take too much food," Vorthak said in his deep voice. "They eat like warriors, but fight like children." Maya stopped, working, and listened. She had heard this argument before, but something felt different today. Vorthak sounded more angry than usual. Captain Hendricks cleared his throat. "Our species all have different needs. The food allocation was agreed upon when we started this mission." "That was before we knew how useless humans would be," Vorthak said. He walked around the table, making the floor shake with each step. "You contribute nothing to ship security. Your science teams are slow. Your diplomats cannot even speak properly to other species." The Zephyrian scientist Dr. Kim tried to speak up. "Actually, the human engineering team has been very helpful. With our research." Vorthak turned his huge head toward Dr. Kim. "Engineering is servant work. Any trained animal could do it." Maya felt her hands tighten around her tools. She had spent years learning how to fix the complex systems that kept everyone alive on this ship. It wasn't simple work, no matter what. The Kethrans thought. Lieutenant Jake Morrison was at the meeting representing human security. Maya could see his face getting red as Vorthak kept talking. "The truth is simple," Vorthak continued. "Humans are weak. Your bodies break easily. Your minds are slow. You have no honor in battle. You should be grateful we allow you to serve on this ship at all." Jake stood up fast, his chair falling backward. "That's enough. You don't know anything about human strength." The room went quiet. Everyone stared at Jake, including Maya. She had never seen him this angry before. Vorthak turned around slowly. A smile crossed his scared face, but it wasn't a friendly smile. "Are you challenging my words, little human?" "I'm saying you're wrong," Jake said. His voice was shaking, but he didn't back down. "Humans have fought in wars too. We've won battles. We're not as weak as you think." "Prove it," Vorthak said. Those two words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to go off. Maya knew what they meant. Everyone in the room knew. The Kethrans settled all arguments through combat. It was their oldest law and their most sacred tradition. Jake swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" "I challenge you to single combat," Vorthak said. "If humans are strong, show me. Fight me in the old way. Hand to hand, no weapons except what nature gave us." Captain Hendricks stood up quickly. "That's not necessary. We can settle this with discussion." "No," Vorthak said. "The human spoke of strength. Let him prove it. Unless he admits that humans are cowards as well as weak." Maya could see Jake's hands shaking. He was scared, and he had every right to be. Vorthak had never lost a fight. He had killed enemies in real wars. Jake was a security officer, but his job was mostly watching monitors and checking doors. But Jake was also proud. Maya could see it in his face. He couldn't back down now. Not in front of everyone. Not when Vorthak had called humans cowards. "I accept," Jake said. Several people gasped. The other human representatives looked shocked. Captain Hendricks tried to speak, but Vorthak was already talking again. "Good," the Kethran said. "Tomorrow at noon in the cargo bay. All crew may watch. When I defeat you, no human will question Kethran's superiority again." The meeting ended quickly after that. Maya watched through the glass as everyone filed out. Jake walked past her in the corridor, but he didn't see her. His face was white, and he looked sick. Maya finished fixing the light and went back to her work. But she couldn't stop thinking about what she had seen. She knew Jake was going to lose. Everyone knew it. The only question was how badly Vorthak would hurt him. That night, Maya went to the ship's database and looked up information about Kethran combat rules. She read about their fighting styles, their weapons, their history of warfare. She had access to the technical manuals because of her job, so she could also read about Kethran biology and anatomy. The next day came too fast. Maya finished her morning work early and went to the cargo bay. It seemed like the whole ship was there. Beings from every species had come to watch the fight. Some looked excited. Others looked worried. Everyone was talking in quiet voices. Jake entered the cargo bay wearing simple combat gear. He looked like a child next to the aliens around him. Vorthak came in wearing traditional Kethran battle armor. It was black metal with spikes on the shoulders and arms. He looked like death itself. The rules were simple. Fight until one being could not continue. No weapons except natural ones. No killing unless absolutely necessary, but serious. Injury was expected. Maya found a spot near the back where she could see everything. She watched Jake try to warm up, stretching his muscles and throwing practice punches. He was in good shape for a human, but he looked tiny in the huge cargo bay. Vorthak didn't warm up. He just stood there like a mountain, staring at Jake with cold eyes. The fight began when Captain Hendricks dropped a red cloth. Jake tried to be smart about it. He stayed back and tried to use his speed. But Vorthak was faster than he looked. The Kethran grabbed Jake's arm on the third punch and threw him across the room like a toy. Jake hit the wall hard and fell to the floor. The crowd made sounds of shock and pain. But Jake got up. Maya had to respect him for that. He got up and tried again. It didn't matter. Vorthak was too strong, too experienced, too everything. He played with Jake like a cat with a mouse. Every time Jake tried to attack, Vorthak countered easily. Every time Jake tried to defend, Vorthak broke through. Like Jake wasn't even there. The fight lasted 10 minutes. When it ended, Jake was on the floor bleeding from his nose and mouth. His left arm was bent wrong and he couldn't stand up. Medical teams rushed in to help him. Vorthak stood over Jake's broken body and raised his forearms in victory. The cargo bay was silent except for the sound of medical equipment. "This is what happens when weakness challenges strength," Vorthak announced to the crowd. "Let no human forget this lesson." Maya watched them carry Jake away on a stretcher. She watched Vorthak accept congratulations from other Kethrans. She watched the other humans leave with their heads down, looking defeated and ashamed. But Maya didn't leave. She stayed in the cargo bay long after everyone else was gone, staring at the spot where Jake had fallen. Something cold and hard was growing in her chest, something she had kept buried for years. Maya Collins had been quiet and invisible for a long time. Maybe too long. Maya spent the next 2 days thinking. She went about her normal work, fixing broken systems and maintaining the ship. But her mind was somewhere else. She kept seeing Jake's broken body on the cargo bay floor. She kept hearing Vorthak's voice saying humans were weak and useless. Jake was still in the medical bay. Maya visited him once, bringing him some food from the cafeteria. His left arm was in a cast and his face was covered in bruises. He could barely talk through his swollen lips. "Don't do anything stupid, Maya," he whispered when she sat down next to his bed. "I saw that look in your eyes after the fight. Whatever you're thinking, don't do it." Maya didn't answer. She just squeezed his good hand and left. That evening, Maya was in the maintenance tunnels under Deck 5. She had been coming here for 3 years whenever she needed to think. The tunnels were narrow and dark, filled with pipes and cables that kept the ship running. Nobody else ever came down here. Maya had been doing more than thinking in these tunnels. She had been training. Every night for the past 2 years, she had practiced the fighting techniques her father taught her back on the mining colony. She had learned how to move in small spaces, how to use her size as an advantage, how to hit where it would hurt the most. Tonight was different. Tonight, she wasn't just practicing. She was preparing. The third day after Jake's fight, Vorthak was holding court in the recreation center. This was something he did every few days now, gathering a crowd of different species to tell stories about his victories. Maya had seen it before, but she had always walked past quickly. Not today. Maya stood outside the recreation center for 5 minutes, listening to Vorthak's voice booming inside. He was telling the story of his fight with Jake, making it sound even more one-sided than it had been. The crowd was laughing at the parts where Jake had tried to fight back. Maya looked down at herself. She was wearing her usual blue work clothes with her name tag that said, M. Collins, Maintenance. Her tool belt hung at her side with wrenches and screwdrivers. She looked exactly like what she was, a small human woman who fixed things for a living. Maya took a deep breath and walked into the recreation center. The room was full of aliens from different species. Catherine sat in the front, closest to Vorthak. Zephyrians were scattered around the middle, reading data pads while they listened. Altarians sat in perfect rows, their faces showing no emotion. A few humans were near the back, but they looked uncomfortable. Vorthak was standing in the center of the room, using all 4 of his arms to act out the fight with Jake. He was describing how he had thrown the human across the room. The little human thought he could match Catherine's strength, Vorthak said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. But humans are soft. They break easily. They cry when they are hurt. They are not made for fighting. Several Catherines laughed. Some of the other species looked uncomfortable, but nobody said anything. This is why Catherines lead and humans follow, Vorthak continued. This is the natural order. The strong rule the weak. The warriors protect the servants, and humans will always be servants. Maya walked closer to the center of the room. A few beings noticed her, but most were still focused on Vorthak. Humans have no warrior spirit, Vorthak said. They have no honor. They would rather run than fight. They would rather hide than face their enemies. Maya stopped walking. She was about 10 feet away from Vorthak now, close enough that he could see her if he looked in her direction. But he was too busy enjoying his own speech. No human will ever defeat a Catherine warrior, Vorthak declared, raising all 4 arms above his head. It is impossible. We are too strong, too fast, too experienced. Humans are children playing at war. The room was quiet except for Vorthak's voice. Maya could feel her heart beating fast, but her hands were steady. She had made her decision. I challenge you. The words came out of Maya's mouth clearly and loudly. The entire room went silent. Vorthak stopped talking mid-sentence. Every head turned to look at Maya. For a moment, nobody moved. Then a few Catherines started laughing. The laughter spread to some of the other aliens. They thought it was a joke. Vorthak looked down at Maya with confusion on his face. What did you say, little human? I challenge you to single combat, Maya said. Her voice didn't shake. According to Catherine law, any being who has been wronged can issue a formal challenge. The laughter got louder. Even some humans were smiling, thinking Maya had lost her mind. Vorthak's confusion turned to amusement. You? You challenge me? He looked around the room, making sure everyone was watching. A maintenance worker challenges the greatest Catherine warrior? Yes, Maya said simply. Vorthak walked closer to Maya, his huge form casting a shadow over her. Little human, do you understand what you are saying? I have killed beings twice your size. I have fought in wars across the galaxy. You fix air filters. I know who you are, Maya said. And I know what I am. But I also know Catherine law. You cannot refuse a formal challenge if the challenger has been wronged. The room got quiet again. Vorthak's face changed from amusement to something harder. How have you been wronged? You said humans have no warrior spirit, Maya said. You said we have no honor. You said we would rather run than fight. You said no human could ever defeat a Kethran warrior. Those are lies, and they dishonor my people. Vorthak stared down at Maya for a long moment. She could see him thinking. The Kethran code of honor was sacred to his people. If he refused a formal challenge, he would lose face in front of everyone. But he also couldn't believe this small human woman was serious. Maya was maybe 5 feet tall and couldn't weigh more than 100 pounds. Vorthak probably weighed 4 times as much. This is foolish, Vorthak said finally. I will hurt you badly. You will end up like your friend in the medical bay or worse. Maybe, Maya said. But you still have to accept the challenge. Unless Kethran honor means nothing. That did it. Vorthak's face turned dark with anger. No one questioned Kethran honor, especially not a human. Very well, Vorthak said, his voice like grinding stone. I accept your challenge. Tomorrow at noon in the cargo bay, the same rules as before. And when I am finished with you, no human will ever question Kethran's superiority again. The room exploded with noise as everyone started talking at once. Maya could hear beings placing bets, arguing about the outcome, laughing about how quickly she would lose. Captain Hendricks pushed through the crowd, his face white with worry. Maya, what are you doing? You can't fight him. He'll kill you. Maya looked up at the captain. Maybe, but I'm going to try. She turned and walked out of the recreation center, leaving behind a room full of shocked and excited aliens. As she walked down the corridor toward her quarters, Maya could hear the noise getting louder behind her. Tomorrow, everyone on the ship would watch her fight. Most of them expected to see her lose badly. Some probably expected to see her die. Maya went to her room and sat on her bed. She had 20 hours to prepare for the fight of her life. 20 hours to get ready to face the most dangerous warrior in the galaxy. But for the first time in 3 years, Maya Collins wasn't invisible anymore. Vorthak stared up at Maya's extended hand for a long moment. The cargo bay was so quiet that everyone could hear the ship's engines humming in the background. 200 beings waited to see what would happen next. Slowly, the defeated Kethran warrior reached up and took Maya's hand. She helped pull him to his feet, though he still had trouble standing. The nerve strikes Maya had used would wear off in a few hours, but right now Vorthak could barely walk. You fought with honor too, Vorthak said quietly. His voice was different, now, lacking the arrogance it had carried for years. I was wrong about humans. Maya nodded once and stepped back. She didn't make a victory speech or raise her arms in triumph. She just stood there breathing hard from the fight, waiting to see what happened next. The silence stretched on for another few seconds. Then one of the Kethran warriors in the crowd began to slow clap. Others joined him. Soon, the entire cargo bay was filled with applause from beings of every species. Even the Kethrans who had been betting against Maya were clapping. Captain Hendricks pushed through the crowd to reach Maya. His face showed amazement and relief. Maya, where did you learn to fight like that? My father taught me, Maya said simply. Growing up on a mining colony, you learn to take care of yourself. The crowd began to break up, but many beings came over to speak with Maya before they left. Zephyrian scientists wanted to know about the pressure points she had used. Altarian diplomats congratulated her in their formal way. Even Kethran warriors showed her respect, touching their foreheads in the traditional warrior greeting. But Maya was tired. The fight had taken everything she had, and now she just wanted to go back to her quarters and rest. She tried to leave quietly, but Jake rolled his wheelchair over to block her path. That was incredible, Jake said. You did what none of us thought was possible. I got lucky, Maya said. No, Jake shook his head. That wasn't luck. You knew exactly what you were doing. You studied him. You planned your attacks. You used your advantages. That was skill. Maya helped push Jake's wheelchair toward the cargo bay exit. Vorthak is a good fighter, but he's used to winning with strength alone. He doesn't know how to fight someone who uses different tactics. Most of us don't know how to fight at all, Jake admitted. Maybe you could teach us? Maya looked at him with surprise. Teach you? Combat training for the human crew, Jake explained. Not everyone wants to be a warrior, but we should all know how to defend ourselves, especially if we're going to keep working with other species who don't respect us. Maya thought about it as they walked down the corridor. She had never considered herself a teacher, but Jake had a point. The fight with Vorthak had changed something on the ship, but that change wouldn't last unless humans proved they could be strong when necessary. I'll think about it, Maya said. Over the next few days, word of Maya's victory spread beyond the horizon's edge. Other ships in the fleet received reports about the human maintenance worker who had defeated the legendary Kethran champion. The story grew with each telling, becoming more dramatic and impressive. Captain Hendricks received messages from Fleet Command asking for details about the fight. Military recruiters wanted to know if Maya was interested in joining the combat forces. Scientists wanted to study her fighting techniques. Maya turned down all the offers. She liked her job fixing things and didn't want to become famous. But she couldn't avoid all the changes that came with her victory. The most important change was in how other species treated humans on the ship. Before the fight, humans had been ignored or looked down upon. Now beings from every species greeted Maya respectfully when they saw her in the corridors. More importantly, they started showing the same respect to other humans. Vorthak himself became one of Maya's strongest supporters. Once he recovered from the nerve damage, he sought her out to apologize properly. "I've been a fool," he told her during a private meeting in his quarters. "I judged your people by their appearance and assumed weakness meant worthlessness. You have shown me that strength comes in many forms. Everyone makes mistakes," Maya said. "What matters is learning from them." Vorthak nodded seriously. "I have learned, and I will make sure other Kethrans learn as well. You have earned the respect of my people." Maya Collins. The formal respect ceremony happened a week later. Vorthak gathered all the Kethrans on the ship and publicly declared that Maya had proven human courage and skill in honorable combat. According to Kethran tradition, this meant all humans on the ship were to be treated as potential warriors rather than servants. But the biggest change came when Maya finally agreed to Jake's request about combat training. She started small, working with just the human crew members who were interested. They met in the cargo bay 3 times a week after regular duty hours. Maya taught them the basics her father had shown her: how to move efficiently in small spaces, how to use an opponent's size against them, where to strike to cause maximum disruption with minimum force. Most importantly, she taught them that winning a fight wasn't about being the strongest or the fastest. Fighting is about problem solving, Maya explained to her students. Your opponent has advantages and disadvantages. You have advantages and disadvantages. Victory goes to whoever uses their advantages better while protecting their weaknesses. The training sessions grew larger as word spread. Soon beings from other species were asking to join. Maya found herself teaching Zephyrian scientists who wanted to learn self-defense, and even some younger Kethran warriors who wanted to understand human fighting techniques. Captain Hendricks watched one of the training sessions and was impressed by what he saw. "You've started something important here, Maya. This kind of cross-species cooperation could change how we work together throughout the fleet." Maya looked around the cargo bay at the mixed group of beings practicing together. Humans were sparring with Altarians. Zephyrians were learning pressure point techniques from Kethrans. Everyone was sharing knowledge and learning from each other. "Maybe," Maya said, "but I just want everyone to be able to protect themselves." 6 months later, the Horizon's Edge received new crew members from 3 different species. When they came aboard, they were briefed about ship protocols and crew relationships. One of the things they were told was that humans were to be treated as equals in all situations. The new arrivals were confused by this. On most ships, humans were considered useful but not particularly important. But they quickly learned that things were different on the Horizon's Edge. Maya was still fixing air, filters, and maintaining gravity generators. She still worked mostly alone and preferred quiet to conversation. But now when she walked through the ship's corridors, every being she passed offered a respectful greeting. Some called her the warrior who defeated Vorthak. Others knew her as the teacher who shared fighting knowledge freely. A few just knew her as the maintenance worker who kept their air clean and their lights working. Maya was fine with all of those titles. She had never wanted to be famous or important. She had just wanted humans to be treated with dignity and respect. Now they were. The quiet girl nobody had noticed had changed everything by refusing to stay quiet when it mattered most. And in the end, that was exactly what she had set out to do. Maya woke up at 5 in the morning on the day of the fight. She had slept better than expected considering what was coming. Her mind was calm and focused, the way it had been before difficult jobs back on the mining colony. She spent an hour in the maintenance tunnels, going through her practice routine one last time. Maya moved through the narrow spaces like water, practicing the strikes and movements her father had taught her years ago. He had been a small man too, but he had survived 20 years in the mines where bigger men died. Size don't matter in a real fight, he had told her when she was 12. What matters is knowing where to hit and when to move. Big men think their strength is everything. That's their weakness. Maya finished her practice and went to the cafeteria for breakfast. Word about the fight had spread through the entire ship overnight. Every table was talking about it. She could feel eyes watching her as she got her food and sat alone at a small table near the window. 3 human crew members approached her table. Maya recognized them but didn't know their names well. They looked nervous. Maya, one of them, said quietly, "You don't have to do this. Nobody expects you to fight him." "Everyone knows you'll lose," another added. "There's no shame in backing out." Maya ate her breakfast without looking up. "I'm not backing out." "But why?" the first one asked. "What's the point of getting hurt for nothing?" Maya finally looked at them. "Jake got hurt fighting for human dignity. I'm doing the same thing." "Jake is a trained security officer," the third human said. "Your maintenance crew." "I know what I am," Maya said simply. They tried to argue with her for a few more minutes, but Maya didn't change her mind. Eventually they gave up and left her alone. The morning passed slowly. Maya went about her normal work, checking systems, and fixing small problems. But everywhere she went, beings stopped talking when they saw her. Some looked at her with pity. Others seemed excited, like they were going to watch some kind of entertainment. At 11:30, Maya went to her quarters and changed into the simple combat clothes the ship provided. Black pants and a black shirt, nothing fancy. No armor or protection of any kind. The Kethrin rules didn't allow it. Maya looked at herself in the small mirror on her wall. She looked exactly like what she was, a small human woman about to fight a giant alien warrior. But her eyes were steady and calm. The cargo bay was packed when Maya arrived. It seemed like every being on the ship had come to watch. The crowd was much bigger than it had been for Jake's fight. Word had spread to other ships in the area, and some had sent representatives to watch via video link. Betting pools were everywhere. Maya could hear the odds being shouted out, 100 to 1 against her. Some bets were even higher. A few beings were betting on how long she would last. Most said less than 2 minutes. Captain Hendricks tried one last time to stop the fight. "This is madness, Maya. I can't let you do this." "You can't stop me," Maya said. "Kethrin law is clear. The challenge has been accepted." Jake was there too, still bandaged, but out of the medical bay. He rolled his wheelchair up to Maya. "I wish I could stop you," he said. "But I understand why you're doing it." Maya nodded. "Someone has to stand up." "Just try to survive," Jake said. "That's all anyone can ask." Vorthak entered the cargo bay like a storm. He wore his traditional black battle armor and moved with the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight. The crowd got louder when they saw him. Many Kethrins cheered his name. Vorthak looked across the cargo bay at Maya and shook his head. "Last chance, little human. Admit that humans are weak and I will make this quick." "No," Maya said. Vorthak shrugged his 4 massive shoulders. "Then you will learn the hard way." Captain Hendricks stood between them, holding a red cloth. The ER, same rules as Jake's fight. No weapons except natural ones. Fight until one being could not continue. Try not to kill, but serious injury was expected. Are both fighters ready? Captain Hendricks asked. Vorthak cracked his knuckles, making sounds like breaking wood. Ready? Maya took a deep breath and rolled her shoulders. Ready. The captain dropped the cloth. Vorthak charged forward like a truck, all four arms reaching, for Maya. He moved faster than something his size should be able to move, but Maya had expected this. She had watched him fight Jake and seen how he liked to start battles. Maya dropped low and rolled to the side just as Vorthak reached her. His massive hands grabbed nothing but air. The crowd made sounds of surprise. They had expected Maya to be caught immediately. Vorthak spun around, annoyed that his first attack had missed. He swung two of his arms at Maya in wide arcs that would have crushed her if they connected. But Maya was already moving, staying low, staying inside his reach where his long arms couldn't get good angles. Maya struck fast at Vorthak's left knee, hitting a nerve point she had learned about from studying Kethran anatomy. Vorthak grunted in pain and stumbled slightly. The crowd got quieter. Lucky hit, Vorthak growled. He tried to grab Maya with all four arms at once, but she slipped between them like smoke. As she moved past him, Maya hit two more nerve points on his lower back. Vorthak's left leg went numb for a moment and he nearly fell. The crowd was silent now. This wasn't going the way anyone had expected. Vorthak was getting angry. He had thought this would be easy, like fighting Jake. But Maya was different. She moved like she had been fighting her whole life. She was fast and precise and seemed to know exactly where to hit him. Stand still and fight, Vorthak demanded. Maya didn't answer. She kept moving, staying away from his strength, hitting nerve points and joint connections whenever she got an opening. Each strike was small, but they were adding up. Vorthak was slowing down. The fight continued for 10 minutes, then 15, then 20. Maya was getting tired, but so was Vorthak. The big Kethran was breathing hard and favoring his left side where Maya had hit several nerve clusters. How is she doing this? Someone in the crowd whispered. She's actually fighting him. Another voice said with amazement. Vorthak tried a different approach. Instead of chasing Maya around the cargo bay, he stood in the center and waited for her to come to him. But Maya was patient. She circled him slowly, looking for openings, making him turn to follow her movement. When Vorthak got dizzy from turning, Maya struck. She darted in fast and hit 3 pressure points on his right side before dancing away. Vorthak's right arm went limp for several seconds. The crowd was on their feet now, cheering and shouting. Nobody had expected the fight to last this long. Nobody had expected Maya to hurt Vorthak at all. But Maya knew she was running out of time. She was smaller and had less stamina than Vorthak. If the fight went on much longer, exhaustion would beat her even if Vorthak didn't. It was time to end this. Maya waited for Vorthak to charge her one more time. When he did, instead of dodging away, she ran straight at him. At the last second, she dropped and slid between his legs. As she passed under him, Maya struck upward with both hands at a cluster of nerve points she had found in the maintenance manuals. Vorthak's entire nervous system seized up. His legs collapsed and he crashed to the cargo bay floor like a falling tree. The impact shook the entire room. Maya rolled away and got to her feet. Vorthak tried to stand but couldn't. His legs wouldn't support him. He tried to push himself up with his arms, but they were shaking too badly. The cargo bay was completely silent. 200 beings stared in shock as the greatest Kethran warrior in the galaxy lay helpless on the floor. Maya walked over to where Vorthak had fallen. She looked down at him for a moment, then extended her hand. "You fought with honor," she said quietly.